get the picture. Sorry. I watched people. There's a lot we had tonight. So. I know he's such a hot. I know. Okay. So what we're doing tonight, we're talking about faith. So this was a great example of having faith in something. There's a lot to cover, so if I can have your undivided attention. It's a super important topic, so try and stay with me, fill in all the blanks, because there's just a lot, okay? So this is like I said just a second ago, this is a theological kind of topic, and something that we want to do as a church, and I want to do as a pastor, is help you guys understand bigger theological truths that are sometimes hard to digest and sometimes hard to understand. So my job as your leader is to take these big things and compact them down into small things that you can really hold on to and remember, okay? So our big idea is this. Fill this in. Do you have good reasons for your faith? Do you have good reasons for your faith? And that's going to make a lot more sense here in a second. Okay? Somebody read me James 1:6. Belle.
But let him ask in faith with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. James 1:6.
Excellent. Somebody else. Ed.
But let him ask in faith with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind.
Excellent. Caleb, can you read that one more time?
But let him ask in faith with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind.
Okay, excellent. So, there's two parts to this verse. And the first part is, but let him ask in faith. And that is referring to the previous verse about wisdom and asking for wisdom, asking God for wisdom. We're not going to go into that. And then the second part is, with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. So we're going to try and understand what faith is, the definition of faith. Is everyone on board? What are we trying to figure out tonight? Excellent. Before we go into that definition, I want to watch a quick video by... yes. No. We're going to watch a quick video by William Craig Lang, who is just a major philosopher. He's an authors these massive books that I have to read. He's going to give a quick explanation on his view of faith and how he sees faith. But what I want you guys to pay attention to is he's going to talking about cutting his eyes in half, like literally cutting his eyes in half. So look for that, listen for that, and then tune into what he says about that, because we're going to come back to that.
How would you define faith?
I don't think of faith as a way of knowing something. I think far too many people think of faith in terms of a way you know something. So they think, for example, that reason takes you so far, and then reason comes to the end of its resources, and then you make this leap of faith, and you know that God exists, or you know that Jesus Christ is God's Son by faith. I think that's really a complete misunderstanding of faith as it's used in the Bible. Instead, I think of faith as a way of trusting in something that you know or you think you know to be true. So, to illustrate, several years ago, I had double cornea transplant surgery. I have now the cornea of a 28-year-old woman in one eye and of a 60-year-old man in the other eye. And that helps me, my wife says, to see things from a woman's point of view sometimes. But as you can imagine, as scholars, our eyes are our whole life in study and so forth. So before I took the step of letting someone cut on my eyes, Jan and I did a thorough search of who was the best corneal surgeon in the United States, who was at the top of the ladder in corneal transplant surgery, and we found it was Perry Binder out in La Jolla, California. And so having determined that this was the best man, I then trusted him to cut on my eyes. I placed my trust in him on the basis of the evidence that we had gathered that this man was the finest corneal surgeon. So that's the way would see the relationship between faith and reason is that once you've come to think that something is true, then the question arises, am I going to commit myself to this? Am I going to trust in this with my whole life and being? And so that's how I conceive of faith, is as this step of commitment or trust.
Okay, so what did he say about faith when he was talking about his eyes? Who caught that? Anyone take a stab in the dark? Peter?
So he was saying that he knew in faith that that guy that was transplanting his corneas was the best and most trusted in the world, so he had faith that he could get the job done.
Right. Ryan, you want to add to that?
Sure. It's like placing your trust into something, knowing someone that you like kind of have good reason to believe that they're gonna do like what you're wanting them to.
Good reason. That's key.
So, if you can learn about something as much as you want, but to truly have faith in something is to put your trust in them based off of what you know.
Right. Good. I'm gonna. Okay. Yeah.
But you can't only just put your faith in something, then you have to act on it, otherwise it's not.
Okay. Yeah. There comes a point where you have to jump off the cliff.
Right.
Per se,
if
with
you
the
say
parachute.
like, yeah, the parachute is gonna hold me up, I believe that, I have faith in my parachute, but you stay on the cliff, that's
Nothing
pretty
happens.
pointless.
Right. What she's kind of describing is, as we relate that to Christianity, we jump off the cliff by trusting in God and what all that He said in Scripture. Then we can't prove it all, per se, and we're going to get into that in a second, but we have to jump off at some point. We have to trust and put our faith and trust in Him. So I'm going to take all those answers and put them into one. Basically, what he was saying about this eye surgery is he needed this eye surgery to be done, right? And then he went out and researched the best person that was going to be able to accomplish that task, the best. And so with that research, he had good reason to believe that this guy was going to do a good job and he was going to be able to perform the surgery without flaw and without mistake. Now, at the end of the day, he lays down in the chair, goes to sleep, and they perform on his eyes. So he's putting his faith into this person that he's researched. So he has good reason to believe that he's going to do a good job. So I want you to write this in. You have a space in the first point there. So placing trust in unknowable, unprovable things you have good reason to believe are true. I'll give you a second, because this is super important. I want you to take this home, memorize it, do whatever you have to do. I know it's kind of small. Placing trust in unknowable / unprovable things you have good reason to believe are true. You need that one more time? Got it? Okay, cool. So let's go through this real quick. Placing trust, so we're placing our trust in something, placing our faith in something that is unknowable and unprovable. This is basically what you guys just said. Placing your trust and your confidence in something that you cannot see. But the second part is this. So placing your trust in unknowable, unprovable things you have good reason to believe are true. Okay, so we put our faith in something like he did with the eye surgery. He researched that beforehand. He looked into that. He made sure that he had a good foundation before just putting his faith in something. Okay, and I think this relates really well to the parachute video. Okay, people are not just going to jump off a cliff if they don't have good reason to believe that their parachute is going to work. Okay, so if you do just, let's say they're like, yeah, put the parachute on my back, right? And some guy just puts a school backpack on his back. Like that would be super bad. And if I just say, hey, put it on my back, and then I just jump off, I'm kind of just jumping in blind faith. Like I just like, well, I hope that you did that right. Like I hope that I'm wearing a parachute at least. Or people just jump off and they have no idea if the parachute even works. That's not what they did, right? What did they do in the video? They jumped off with the assurance they had really, really good reason to believe that when they pull that string, the chute's gonna pop out, right? That is what faith is. It's having faith in something that you can't necessarily prove it, you can't necessarily see it, but you have pretty good reason to believe that it's true, okay? Now, the world will claim, you in your schools, in your neighborhoods in the world, a lot of people claim Christianity is just a bunch of people that put blind faith into something that they can't prove and that has no evidence anywhere, which is completely not true at all. Okay? So, going off that, we want to make sure that we aren't that blind faith. We don't want to be a Christian that's like, someone says, well, why do you believe what you believe? Well, I just have faith in it. Okay, that just isn't going to work. Like, they're going to say, okay, well, prove it. And though we can't necessarily prove it, we have really good reason and resources and a foundation to work off. Is this making sense so far? Okay, good. So, let's just, once again with that definition, there's two parts. So the definition is composed of two different parts. And the first part is what? Faith, which is?
Placing trust in unknowable and unprovable or unprovable things.
Good, and what's the second one?
Reason.
Ryan.
Reason, which is good reasons for your beliefs.
Good. Hey, I want you to say it out loud, okay? Because I want this to translate. So we got the first one, which is faith, and that's placing your trust in things you can't necessarily see. And that's some of the Bible, we can't necessarily prove it, or we can't necessarily see it, but we have faith in it, and we have faith because we have good reason to believe that it is true. Through research and through manuscripts that we have that date back thousands of years, all right? Now, one last point before we move on is you can't have one without the other, okay? You can't have this definition, one without the other, because if you take away faith, then all it is self-reliance. Like it's all like, okay, I'm going to try and prove the Bible through my own effort, through reason, which ultimately you can't do in the long run. But if we take reason away, then we're left with just a shallow faith, okay? Because if you just jump off the cliff not knowing if your parachute works or not, then you're jumping off in blind faith. So you have to have reason to back up your faith. Does that make sense? Okay. We're going to move into the next point here, but faith without reason and understanding is going to give you no confidence and no roots, okay? So no good reasons equals no confidence, okay? If we have no good reasons why we believe what we believe, then our faith is essentially, again, just shallow. We don't have anything with that. So fill this in. No good reasons pretty much equals no confidence in what we believe. Okay, put it there. Good. Somebody read for me one more time, James 1:6. Danny.
But let him ask in faith without doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind.
Excellent. James here provides a really good illustration for what he's trying to say, okay? Before we do that, we got to address what is doubting, okay? What do you guys think? What is your definition of doubting? Oh, sorry. Let you read.
It says it on yours.
It's okay. Your own definition, not necessarily my definition.
Not believing in something.
Okay, not believing in something.
Like if you had a parachute and you don't think
you doubt
works,
it. You're like, oh,
doubting it.
That's a real problem if you doubt your parachute. It's so bad. That's a good example of that.
Being skeptical about something and whether it is actually true or not.
Okay, good. Olivia?
Questioning your beliefs or questioning the truth.
Okay, yeah, we're doubting the truth. Yeah.
Having uncertainties.
Having uncertainties.
Pretty much being told being told something, but you don't believe that.
Okay. So doubting, all really good answers. Doubting pretty much equals a lack of good reason. When we're doubting something, we're doubting what we believe about it. I think someone said that. We're doubting what we know about it. This is really good and explained through an example. Let's say you're going into a test in school. Okay, you're sitting down to a test, and you've got A, B, C, and D as the answer, and you're like, I am pretty sure the answer is A. I mean, I'm almost 100%. But you start doubting yourself, and you're like, oh man, but it could be B. I don't know, it could be B. It could be A, but it could be B. So you're starting to doubt yourself. Now, the reason you're doubting is because you don't have a solid reason why A is the right answer. You don't have all of the information. You didn't study enough. But you're starting to doubt yourself. You're starting to be like, I don't know if what I believe about answer A is true. Okay, and that's what James is saying. Doubting is not a good thing. When we're doubting our faith in the sense of, oh, I don't really know if I have the right answers here. I don't know if my belief is correct. Okay, he's saying don't be someone that doubts their faith, because in the next part of the verse it says, Let's see. But let him ask in faith with no doubting. For the one who doubts, the one who doesn't have a firm grasp on their beliefs and on their faith, is like a wave of the sea driven and tossed by the wind. Okay? So what is a wave? Is what? A wave just goes wherever it goes, right? Because it has no footing, it has no roots, it has no grounding. Okay, so this is the perfect illustration that James gives here. So you've got the wave, which has no grounding, and we have the wind, which is pushing it wherever it goes, right? So a wave, let's picture this. The wave is somebody right here, or it's those who lack understanding and they have doubt about their faith. They don't really know what they believe. They don't have any reasons to back up their faith. Okay, so that's just a wave, and it's going to be pushed from here to there because the wind is what pushes it. Now the wind is the world, that's supposed to say world, the world around us. Okay? Now the world around us could be our friends, it could be society, it could be TV, it could be videos on YouTube, it could be the news, it could be secular opinions, it could be any one of those things. All those things give opinions about the world, and especially about Christianity. A lot of people seem to have a lot of opinions about why Christianity is wrong or the things that are wrong with Christianity. So that's the wind that's around us. Okay? So let me give you one example before we do something with this water here. Let's say we're in school, or you're in your neighborhood, or wherever you may be, and somebody comes up to you. Let's say Benjamin. You're a Christian, you're like, man, I'm pretty sure I have a good, strong faith, you know? And somebody comes up and they're like, yeah, so you know the Bible's like full of errors, right? And like discrepancies throughout the Gospels, and they give you an example of whatever it may be. Like there's a great example I read recently of Judas's death, right? And so in one Gospel it says that Judas died by hanging. In another gospel, it says that he died by falling on the ground and splitting open and everything came out. Which is, sorry, that's a little gruesome. But
What one is that?
it doesn't matter. So
He wants to read.
I'm not lying. So so Benjamin, there's two different accounts. How do you account for that? And you're just like, wait, really? There's errors in the Bible, right? Like, no, we're not going into that right now. No. See, and Olivia, this is a good example. Olivia's she could come back and say, well, here's why, you know, like maybe the branch broke or something, whatever it may be, and then he fell off a cliff. And,
He forgot his parachute.
he forgot his parachute. He's trying to kill himself. All right, so the point. The example is you go into your school and somebody starts pushing you around. That's the wind, right? And the Evie here is you know, they're pushing Evie around, and let's say she doesn't know the answer, because the questions get a lot harder than that. Okay, the discrepancies get a lot more difficult. Guys, come on. So if you don't have answers for that, you don't have reasons behind your faith and why you believe what you believe, and you just say, oh, I have faith, I can't explain that, I just have faith in it. Right? That's not good. We have to have reasons why we believe what we believe. Okay. Now, this water here. So to let this sink in a little bit more, can I have you 6 just make a circle around this?
Boo.
Okay. So because I can't really make waves, we don't have a wave pool or anything, you guys can get on your knees. Okay. So this ping pong ball represents this right here. Okay, we've got the waves, those who lack understanding and they have doubt and they're like, well, I don't really know what I believe, but it's just blind faith. This is them, okay? So, what I want you guys to do, this is, remember, you guys, what is this?
It's a ping pong ball.
Yeah, what does it represent?
It's a win.
What? A win? What does it represent, Johanna?
I could really go.
Okay. Caleb, what does it represent? Shh.
Those who lack understanding and doubt.
Good. And they're driven by all the opinions of the world around them. So you guys are all the different secular opinions saying Christianity is false, blah, 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 blah. That's not a good thing. So what I want you to do is blow this as hard as you can, whatever direction you want it to go, okay? You're going to get wet, so just don't even worry about it. Hurry, go, get in there. Blow it. I'm just waiting for them all to pass out. Okay. Alright, you guys can go back. Hold on. We gotta stay on track here. Okay. So did you guys see how the ping pong ball, it just goes wherever the wind pushes it, right? So when we don't have solid beliefs in what we say we have faith in, we don't have reasons why, when we can't back up our faith with, well, here's why the Bible's correct, here's why the Bible is inerrant, here's why God is real. When we can't do that, there's no root system, there's no foundation, and you just get blown all over the place. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, the next question is, how do we develop roots? How do we develop roots?
We study the Bible.
Okay, we study the Bible. I'm gonna go back so you guys can't see that. I think it's on the sheet though. No, it's not on the sheet. Ha 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 ha.
Faith and question.
Cheater. Zane, how do we grow roots for our faith? What do you think? The Word. Jesus. God. The Holy Spirit. Peter.
Build a relationship with God,
Okay.
or study creation.
Study creation. Yeah, study different parts of creation, how that fits together. Eddie.
You need to not only study it, but actually do it. So that means that you're like starting to put your faith in it, and it's not just words off the page. You're actually have actual faith.
Good. Jaden.
Pray.
Pray. Okay. I'll take that. Let's see. Elliot. How do we grow roots for our faith? How do we have reason behind our faith?
Practice what you learn in the Bible.
So apply it to your life, practice it, memorize it. Good. Somebody else. Anybody else? Olivia.
Not moving from what you know.
Not moving.
Yeah.
From
so
what
like
you know?
developing roots, like staying strong in it and not
Okay.
wavering.
Okay. Good.
Building up your walls.
Okay. Good. Let me add to that. I like that. Not wavering in it, even though somebody blows you down, and you maybe, let's go back to the example with Benjamin, where I'm like, okay, there's discrepancy in the Bible, and he's maybe like, oh, really? There is? Not just saying, really, there is? Okay, I give up on the Bible, like whatever. But actually going into that and understanding, okay, what is he talking about? Let me seek to understand that. Does that make sense? Okay, those are some good ones. Okay, last one.
Having faith.
Having faith. Okay. He's learning. Hey, that's good. Okay, I love it. Studying the Bible. You guys all gave some really good ones. Studying the Bible. I wanna touch on that for a second. Okay. So studying the Bible. A lot of you know this is something I'm really passionate about. Not studying surface level, right? Not opening a book. I don't even have my Bible up here. That's terrible. But not opening a book and just being like, oh, I'm gonna read this and then read that. Yeah. So the classic, like, okay, here we go. 2 Samuel 1:21. Oh, the mountains of some word I don't know. May you have neither dew or rain. Man, that's a good thing. I love that. And then putting it away, right? That's surface level. Even reading a whole chapter and just being like, okay, sounds good. Not really applying it, not really looking into it. So what I'm saying here, to really dive into and have reasons behind your faith, is studying the Bible by questioning it, by debating it, by looking at opposing opinions to it, by reasoning with it, asking hard questions about it. So when you come to something you don't understand, don't just run over it and be like, oh, I don't get it, oh well. But actually, like, look into it. Ask your parents, ask me, ask any spiritual leaders that you have in your life. Okay? Questioning it, saying, why does this actually mean what it says? Why do I believe this? Debating it. Okay, is this actually true? Why do I believe this is true? Looking at opposing views. For me, I'm reading a book right now about the discrepancies of Scripture and how there's thousands of discrepancies that are apparently unreconcilable, which is not true. I'm writing a paper on 2 that they say are unreconcilable that are reconcilable. Okay, that's just a really good example of looking into opposing views. That's really good and important. And then reasoning with it. Having reasons why you believe what you believe. Okay? Now, second water thing. Guys, back up. Now, so we had, So we had the first ping pong ball. Remember, this is somebody who doesn't have any reason why they believe what they believe. They're just blind faith. Why do you believe that? I don't know. I just have faith in it. But that's not good. That's the person that gets blown. Evie, blow. Now, it's in your corner. Okay. So we've got all these different worldly opinions that are blowing this ball around. Okay, that's not what we want. We don't want to have. What we do want to have is we want to be a person, a ping pong ball, with a root system and a, anchor. What is this called? A ratchet? A socket wrench? Which I am labeling as an anchor, right? So we want to have the Bible as our anchor and then our reasons for believing it. This is important.
It's Benjamin.
Benjamin. Actually, I won't do anything. Okay. So now, I want you guys to watch what happens, obviously, to the ball. So you guys go ahead and try and blow that around. Don't even think about it. Nope. Blow it harder. All right. You guys can go back.
It's not moving. Don't blow so hard.
So you could blow. It takes like 20 minutes to get back to your seat. You could blow all of the water out of this container before it's going to really move it out of its place. Right now, if you guys watched as they blew it, it went around like this, which is okay. The ball is still going to move. You're still going to get blown around by the world a little bit as you kind of figure out what you believe and the reasons why you believe them. But you don't get blown all over the continent because you don't know what you believe. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Is the illustration, does that make sense?
Yes.
Illustration. Okay, so the more reason that we put behind our faith, the more confidence we can have in the Word of God. Okay, so faith is not just, oh yeah, I have faith in the Bible, and that's something I can't see, and I can't necessarily figure out, and it's impossible to prove, but I have faith in it, right? People are going to be like, yeah, okay, that means nothing to me. But when you say, I have faith in it for this reason, that changes the whole game. You have a much more solid foundation for what you believe, right? You're not shallow in faith. You're not being blown around the world by the different influences of the world. You're actually able to back up what you believe with reason. Yeah.
So I have an analogy for this.
Okay.
So as your faith gets stronger, your roots get stronger, so you don't get blown around as much. And when you have perfect faith, you don't get blown around at all. It's like the more you believe something, the less you get blown around. So in this case, it would be less floss. Is that?
It's
floss.
It's like yarn.
Okay.
String.
Less string, so you don't get.
So it gets
as
tighter,
much.
is what
Yeah.
you're saying? Now, that's good. We never will have perfect faith.
Yeah.
We'll never have that until we get to heaven, until the glorification process. We're constantly being sanctified in this life. We're never going to have perfect faith, but what he's saying is the more reasons that you have and the more ways that you can back up your faith, the tighter the string gets and the less you move around. So if you know nothing about what you believe, that's this. If you know a lot about what you believe and you're able to really come back and say, well, here's the reason you're wrong, and here's the reason I believe, it gets tighter and tighter and you move less and less. Does that make sense? Good analogy, I like that. Okay, now that I'm soaking wet,
Just
yeah, you're just, okay, so let's just, in conclusion, before we head into groups real quick, let's go over this definition one more time, because I really want it to sink into your head. Faith is placing trust, placing confidence in things that are unknowable or unprovable. Sorry, I read that wrong. Faith is placing trust in unknowable, unprovable things you have good reason to believe it's true. And that good reason to believe things comes from study. It comes from having that root system that goes to the Bible, and you understand what you believe. And that's really what faith is all about. Faith is not blind, like most of the world says. It's having reasons to believe what you believe. And that's where faith comes from. At the end of the day, you do have to jump off the cliff, and the parachute, you do have to trust the parachute. You will have to put faith in God and say, I can't necessarily prove this, but I have really good reason to believe it's true.